Do you like harmonica music? Greetings audience, I'm Boomstick, and today we're going to be talking about the Thumper. Now the Thumper is a 3D printed rear primed harmonica clip fed blaster from Silly Butts. And you can get the files for the Thumper from Silly Butts' GitHub, which I'll have linked down below. And supposedly Silver Fox Industries is supposed to be carrying the hardware, however they haven't started listing them yet. But once they do, I will try to make sure that I've linked that down below in the description as well. So keep an eye on Silver Fox for hopefully hardware coming soon. We'll see. Now because the Thumper uses these 3D printed clips, you actually get a very modular system to where you could pretty much print any harmonica clip you wanted to fire or whatever ammo type you wanted. I believe right now they only have the Rival Mega shotgun for either 3 full length or 6 half lengths. And of course the one that started it all, Mega XL. And of course, just like the other blasters that Silly has designed, it's a very straightforward printing process and a very easy build. This one's definitely one of the more easier builds, I would say, from Silly Butts. It's very similar to like the Skewer because it uses a very similar priming system. And as far as comfort goes, it has Silly's standard grip, which is decent. It's comfortable enough, not like overly comfortable, but not uncomfortable. It's a good grip. The rear prime is nice and rounded, so that's a pretty comfortable way to prime. The only complaint I have about comfort is much like, say, like Talon Claws and other things that use this whole sear system, is this part right here tends to scratch my hand a little bit right there. I could probably do a little bit more sanding here, make it a little bit more smoother, but as far as comfort, that's the only complaint, is just the fact that this tends to kind of bite my hand right here. Now, I will say that the indexing of the clip is actually very smooth. It just notches right from one to the next. Now, one thing I will say that I prefer over what Silly had planned was these clips that I have drop. And I prefer that over the closed top clip that Silly has, where when you get to the end, it just kind of stops and you have to kind of half prime it to slide it the rest of the way off, which can slow you down and led to me getting killed during HVZ, which we'll talk about later. One of the really cool modular things about these clips is because each section is its own piece, you can build a clip to whatever you want it to be. Like what I'd like to do is build clips where there's a Mega XL on every single clip. So that way I always have an option to take care of shields or specials or whatever it is that I'm dealing with. Each modular section just kind of slides onto each other, and you put a screw in the back to hold it in place. Now, if you're using the top capture to where it doesn't drop the clip, that'll work fine, but because I like to just have my clips drop, I've had to glue my clips together to make them a lot more solid, because when this drops, especially onto a hard surface, those screws will pop right out, and you'll now have a broken clip. Now obviously you can put them back together, but that is annoying to deal with, which is why I recommend printing the drop clip and gluing your clips together to make them a little bit more solid and durable. Now obviously with this build, it's not exactly the easiest to like change out spring weights, but I believe it's kind of just meant to use this spring weight. I haven't tried it with different ones or haven't really heard anyone else trying anything different. So much like the Skewer, it's a very easy pull. It takes almost nothing to prime that back. Of course, this is just my opinion on how beefy a spring prime is, but I do find that the Skewer style way of priming is easier than a more pump action style priming. That's just me though. Now when it comes to performance, the main thing to keep in mind is, especially with like shotgun style blasters or especially Mega XL, how well the dart fits in the barrel will greatly decide what kind of performance you get, because I was getting anywhere from 60s to upper 70s with Mega XL. Rival was all over the place because firing 3 Rival rounds, again, lower 60s to mid 70s. Mega was a pleasant surprise because it hit right around 80 FPS, which was decent. And of course, for the triple or 6 half-dart shot clips, this was really surprising because, again, you're putting 6 half-darts into one of these clips, so it's going to greatly decrease performance. So I was getting around 60s for 6 half lengths and only around like upper 60s for 3 half-darts. So I'm not sure how often I'll be using the half-darts with this, because full lengths get right around 70 to 80 FPS firing 3 at once, which is pretty nice in my opinion for a shotgun, especially firing 3 full lengths, which the Spring Thunder can't even do. Now let's talk about one of the bigger drawbacks, and that is the size of these clips. These are bricks essentially. I mean, for comparison, here's a 15 round Talon mag. This is 6 shots, this is 15. Now admittedly, this will give you several shotgun blasts, whereas this is a single dart, but it's literally like 4, yeah, it's literally like 4 Talon mags in size as far as width and height and everything. Yeah, these are big clips, and carrying these is not easy. I can fit about 2 of these in my big dump pouches, so if I had like 3 dump pouches, I could have some, you know, spare clips and everything. But I do think that changing clips out frequently isn't really what this blaster does best. The best way I found to run it is to fire it off and top off as you go. Now this is another pro for using the drop clips, because instead of having to take the whole thing out and put it back in, with these you can kind of just prime, flip it around, and you got a full clip again if you've been keeping up with refilling as you're going. Or if you do get to that situation, it is pretty easy to just drop, grab another one, throw it in, and you're ready to go. So you do have that option to keep topping up as you go, which works very well. Or you can change clips entirely and then load up the other one when you find the time when you're not in a dire situation. Well, that's enough chatting. Let's take our clips and head on to the field. At Southern Maryland House of Nerf, I had to do a lot of jumping from cover to cover because I had to get close enough to actually be able to reach the other team with a thumper. While it was fun to use, going against 150 FPS blasters definitely made it difficult to get tags. And the inconsistent Mega XL made it really difficult to aim, and it's really only useful when going against shields, which tend to get closer and are a much larger target.
Fired and I missed, then I fired and I missed. I passed out. I woke up with a popsicle.
Running it at the DMV nerfers definitely worked a lot better due to the closer engagement distances, but it was still outpowered by the other 150 FPS blasters out there. I gave the thumper to one of my local players, Wreck-It Gillette, who ran it for one of the silly ammo rounds. So they were using the Mega XL clip, which has some of the bigger complaints, mainly being it doesn't have the drop clip and you have to deal with the inconsistent Mega XL. So their experience was not the best, and they eventually just gave up and started throwing Mega XL. Now, UMBC HVZ is where the thumper really shined. Much like my Spring Thunder, the triple rival round clip performed really well and almost always hit what I was aiming at. I almost survived the whole mission, but got tagged while trying to remove my Mega XL clip, which doesn't have the dropout system. Overall, the thumper does much better when you're able to get in close and use the shotgun clips to ensure a tag. Other than that, it's really difficult to tag any other players, especially if there's not enough cover. Now that we've taken it to the field, let's go over some overall thoughts on the blaster. The big thing is, I really enjoyed this blaster. I find it a lot of fun to use, especially at HVZ or like the silly ammo rounds or anything that's like really like close quarters. But as far as like standard games, even like the 150 FPS games, unless there's a really good amount of cover, it's not that practical to use for those games. So I really feel like it's relegated to that really CQB or HVZ style games, especially because there's no rails or sling points for you to just throw this behind you and carry it with you as a backup. So really your only option is to run it as a primary, and it's hard to justify that. Even though it is a fun blaster, it's got very few situations where it's a good primary. Like, I'd compare it to my Spring Thunder as far as effectiveness during HVZ, because you still have that kind of top-loading feature, but it's way smaller, gets similar performance, so it's good in that respect. Now, I personally would rather use my Spring Thunder than use my Thumper, but that doesn't mean I don't think that this blaster is fun. I love this modular clip system, and it feeds very reliably, and it did very well for me when I needed it. And I really only recommend it with gluing the clips and having the whole open clip drop system, because the closed clip system, I find you're ending up fumbling with the clips way more, and if they're not glued, they're more likely to come apart. So I can't recommend that version, but if you're going to use the drop clip system, and if you're going to glue your clips together so they're a little bit more durable, I do recommend it for close quarters and HVZ. Outside of that, I'm not sure how useful it is, but it is definitely still fun. So this is a bit of a more, I guess you could say, middle of the road kind of blaster. So let's see where it ranks on my blaster rating system. So, alright, Thumper, you're gonna go there. Yeah, still good. Still a good blaster, still a fun blaster, just more niche is the way I put it. So, do I recommend it? Yes, with an asterisk. So if this seems like a blaster that's up your alley, definitely print it out, and hopefully hardware will be available soon. So, yeah.
Thank you all for watching, and a special thank you to all my lovely patrons, especially Nerf Nothing for being an amazing pro patron. If you'd like to support the channel or any of the other lovely hobbyists mentioned in this video, please check out the links in the description below. Don't forget, all rival status or higher patrons get monthly stickers from yours truly. But if you don't want to support the channel in that way, definitely check out my merch store for patches, blaster charms, shirts, and more. Don't forget to leave me a comment letting me know your thoughts on the video, and as always, like and subscribe for more foam flinging content. I've been Boomstick, and I'm out.